This is Bernie Borges, host of the Life Fulfilled podcast, and this is episode 2 of 3 in a three-part series that I'm doing on quiet quitting. In the previous episode, I explained what quiet quitting is. I shared some horrendous and real statistics about the impact of quiet quitting, and I ranted that some leaders either aren't aware of the extent of quiet quitting in their teams, which shocks me, or they know about it and they just choose not to address it for whatever reason. In this episode, I want to go a little deeper on the connection between fulfillment and quiet quitting and some ideas on how to address it. And I'll do that from two perspectives. One is from the perspective of the employee who is quietly quitting, and the other perspective is from the lens of the leader. Let's begin with what it means to experience fulfillment because it isn't about having it all. That's a pipe dream. It's about alignment, the alignment between your values and your reality. Think of it like a car. When your wheels are out of alignment, the whole ride feels off. Same with work. When your values and your role don't line up, you feel resistance, even if everything else seems fine on the surface. In the context of quiet quitting, being fulfilled at work means that your work feels like an expression of you, not a drain on you. Let that sink in. Your work can be an expression of you. You see, when fulfillment is intact at work, you bring energy and enthusiasm. You care. You feel valued. You feel that what you do has meaning. Leaders, your fulfilled team members go the extra mile to maximize results. They volunteer to start new initiatives. They collaborate well with each other. They resolve conflicts on their own. And they take pride in their work, even when others get credit for good work. Now, these engaged scenarios that I just described, they exist in some workplaces, but the statistics from Gallup that I shared on the previous episode suggest that these scenarios are the exception and not the norm. So, what can you do to experience fulfillment at work, which inherently reduces quiet quitting? Well, first, I'll address this from the individual employee's perspective. And if you're self employed, then just reframe this for yourself. If you're quietly quitting, you probably didn't start out that way. You probably started with some level of hope or enthusiasm about your work. You might have thought, hey, this role is a good opportunity, or this company seems like a good fit. But over time, something changed. Maybe your ideas were ignored. Maybe you stopped getting feedback. Or maybe you realized that no one was really paying attention to your effort. So you started to pull back. Whatever the circumstance, it is what it is, and it's reality. Just know that you're not broken, but you are at a fork in the road. The good news is that you don't need a total career change to start feeling fulfilled again. You don't need a new boss or a new company to reclaim your energy. Now, maybe you do, but before you conclude that, consider that maybe what you need is curiosity and a small dose of courage. So let's revisit the approach that I described in the previous episode with these three questions to ask yourself. What used to give me energy at work? What part of my role do I or did I actually enjoy or find interesting? And then ask, what am I missing that I need more of? Now, look, don't overcomplicate this. Write down your answers to these questions. Let the answers flow without any intervention or judgment. Answering these questions may not solve everything overnight, but they'll start to reconnect you to yourself. And that's the first step toward fulfillment at work. You can't fix something if you don't know what's broken. Next, try something small, something that stretches you just a little. For example, volunteer for a new project or a task. Ask for a one on one with your manager to talk about what your career growth can look like. And by the way, if your manager is willing, ask him or her about their own career growth goals. That flips the script and shows that leadership is a two-way street. You might learn something very influential to your relationship. You can offer to help a colleague in a way that uses your strengths. Now, these are what I call micro moves. They're small actions that send a big message to your brain and to your heart that say, I still care. And look, I get it. You might be thinking, why should I go the extra mile if no one notices? It's a fair question. But, this isn't about getting noticed. It's about how you feel when you're engaged, when you stretch, when you take a little ownership of your experience at work, because that's where fulfillment lives. I mentioned in the previous episode that if you view your work as nothing more than a paycheck, I'm not here to judge you. But the danger is that you place a limitation on yourself if you think that work can't be fulfilling at all because it's only a paycheck to you. Remember, fulfillment doesn't show up because someone handed it to you. Sometimes you have to create it from the inside out if you're willing, and that's up to you. Now, if your workplace is truly toxic or your values are completely misaligned with your company's, that's another conversation. But most of the time, quiet quitting is reversible. You just need a spark. And that spark often starts with awareness, followed by one small step. So if you're the employee who's been on autopilot, who's been doing just enough to get by, I want you to know this. You are not alone. And you don't have to stay on autopilot. Fulfillment is still on the table. You just have to be willing to reach for it. All right, that's what it can look like from the employee side. Now let's flip the mirror because if you're a leader, you have a different kind of opportunity and actually a bigger responsibility. When a member of your team is experiencing quiet quitting, it's rarely because they just woke up one day and decided to stop caring. It usually starts with small signals, often invisible. Maybe they stop speaking up in meetings. Maybe they do less follow up with colleagues. Or maybe they used to go the extra mile and now they just walk to the corner and back. That's a metaphor in case it wasn't obvious. Anyway, these are signs that something is misaligned. And as a leader, your job isn't to judge. Your job is to listen, to check in, and to create a space where your people feel safe enough to talk about what's missing.